Welcome to our Permanent Weight Loss Solutions webinar. I'm Ray Martinez with Awareness Training, Health Coaching, and Personal Training Services. And today's topic, we are talking about weight loss, but not just weight loss. We're talking about specifically sustainable weight loss. So I'm not concerned about how much weight you're able to lose or how much you want to lose. I'm concerned about, are you able to keep that weight off? And if you're listening in today, I trust that you're also interested in that as well. So I'll share with you some really good key points that you're going to want to be aware of. And a lot of this comes from my experience as a bootcamp instructor for many years. It was one of my first jobs in the fitness industry many years ago. I was doing leading bootcamp classes where the focus was, getting stronger, but a lot of it was focused on weight loss. And, the bootcamp I was working at had a lot of challenges around weight loss. Lose 30 pounds in a month. That was often a normal uh, challenge that you would see in a lot of boot camps. You lose a certain amount of weight by a specific date, and sometimes they had prizes if you were able to do that. And this approach, at the time I felt was very effective, but looking back now, I saw a lot of the pitfalls and a lot of the mistakes in that specific approach, especially because a lot of it was focused on lose as much weight as you can, as quickly as you can. And towards the end of the challenge, I know even some boot camps encourage, hey, don't eat as much, don't feed the body, and only drink water. And so there was a little bit of a starvation tactic in there. And people would come in and they would do the challenges. They would come in, they would lose more than the 30 pounds, and they go, oh my gosh, this challenge is so awesome. I lost all this weight. And then they would come back maybe a couple weeks later, or a couple months later. They thought, you know what? I kind of went off the tracks there, and I gained some weight back over summer break or over vacation, and I actually gained more pounds lately. And I want to do your challenges again because the challenges work so well for me. And then over time, I started to think, well, how well are these weight loss challenges working if the people who are taking them keep coming back to have to do it again, and they keep coming back with gaining the same weight or even more weight than when they first started. So I started to really question, well, is this really the best approach for weight loss? Great for the gyms and for the boot camps because people keep taking the challenges again. And so, but I wanted to help people, be able to really learn more about their body and be able to reach a point where they're not still struggling with the challenge of weight gain. And so I came to find, after studying more of a holistic approach for many years and applying the principles that I learned for myself and learning how much that's changed my body and the way that I feel, my energy, how that's changed my skin quality, and just the way that I feel in my body. I want other people to feel that as well too. And when it comes to weight loss, I don't think weight loss should be something where you're constantly at odds with your body. You feel like you have to fight your body, or feel like you have to break your body down in the gym in order to, lose weight. I find that weight loss can actually feel natural. And, sometimes you hear people say, yeah, I feel like the fat just melted off of my body. And that's how weight loss can be. It can feel almost natural and, dare I say, even fun. And that's sounds a little bit of a wild statement, but I believe you can actually get to a point where weight loss is an enjoyable process. But I know that especially for those who have been struggling for a long time, that concept is very foreign to you. But I trust that after today's webinar, you'll be a little bit more confident in taking this approach. That way you can get to a place where you actually feel good and you feel confident and comfortable in your own skin, because that's our natural state of being. So feel confident, healthy, and whole. So as we get into today, I'm going to share a little bit of my approach and how I work with clients to get them to that point. And I encourage you to take some notes today. Okay, here's some things that we're going to learn today. We're going to learn how to avoid the many pitfalls many people make when attempting to lose weight. So as I mentioned, working in a boot camp, many people were coming in and they were putting a lot of that focus in, okay, I got to lose as much weight as I possibly can. I got to starve my body. I got to do 2 workouts a day. And so people will sometimes come in for take these high intensity classes, and they'd come in the morning, and sometimes they'd come back later in the evening, and that's just not necessary. You don't have to work out 5 days, 7 days a week to see results. You can do things like strength training twice a week and maybe some stretching and cardio on some opposite days, and still see the same, if not more, results. You'll learn that to listen to your body's natural signs that'll tell you what to do. You are your own best therapist, as Guy Voyer says, a very well-known therapist. And I love that one because you know your body better than anybody else. And when you get to a point where you can actually read those signs, then again, this process becomes natural for you. You'll learn the best methods to get back to your natural state of being, which again is happy, healthy, and whole. And just keep in mind, the following information is just intended for general wellness. It's not a substitute for any medical advice. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going along. Okay, here are some of the effects of weight gain. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of these, or maybe you're experiencing some of these. Joint pain, high blood pressure, risk of heart disease, risk of certain cancers will go up, risk of diabetes. Your energy will be a lot lower. You might struggle with sleep. There's a lot of things associated with weight gain. So it's just something that we want to keep in mind. It's not necessarily the big reason to change. It's not our biggest motivator to change, and I'll explain that on the next slide. But these are some things that we want to keep in mind. We want to avoid a lot of these metabolic diseases, and we can do that when we have a healthy weight. Okay. So, but finding our main motivator for lifestyle changes, you want to find your why. You want to find that one reason to start changing the habits, because what I find, especially in personal training, sometimes I would get clients who would come in and I'd ask them, why are you here today? And they might tell me that, no, my spouse was, complaining and saying that I need to start working out, or my doctor says that I need to start working out because my blood pressure is high. And what we find is that whenever we have an external motivator, or someone else is telling us or encouraging us, that's not really a strong motivator to exercise. You might feel motivated in the very first day or first week, but you're not going to be able to keep that motivation going. So it's important that you find a reason, find what I call your dream of what experience would you have if you were to lose weight and get to a healthier weight. Okay, how would that improve your life? Would you be able to go on your upcoming vacation and have the energy to walk around and see all the sights, and have the strength, as I say, you should have the strength to put your overhead luggage in the overhead bin when you're on a plane. You should be at least that strong, and so that way you can show up in life and do all the fun things that you want to do. So you got to have a strong motivator. That part is important. And then we can really look into these other factors around weight loss. So I encourage you, have a goal, write it down, get out your journal, and that's going to be a big inspiration for you to make a lot of these changes. All right, so I'm going to share with you, I love this chart. My clients love this chart. It gives you a really good visual of the main factors around why you are experiencing weight gain, but also why you can't seem to keep the weight off once you lose it. Okay, so we can look at this chart as a stress chart. How much stress is your body over? And so if you look at our overall risk here, it goes by green, yellow, red, and as you can imagine, green is that safe zone. Green is that state where, we always experience stress. We never not experience stress, but that's a place where your body is able to handle that. When you get to more yellow, now we're in more of that cautious area. Your body's under more stress, and unless you start making some changes, then you're going to experience things such as low energy, poor performance in the gym. You're starting to gain some weight at this point. And so if it's yellow, definitely want to get that lower. And then as it's red, that's a major, whoa, okay, the body's experiencing more stress than it can manage. So, and we'll get into what stress exactly looks like for the body, because stress looks differently. But if someone's high in that red, then we want to talk about, okay, what are some ways that we can start to manage our stress better? Okay. We're going to go through each one of these factors as listed here. I kind of have them by a certain order of importance, and you'll see why. And this is a questionnaire that I send out to all my clients who start a program with me. And so we're going to go into that first one, which is going to be our detoxification health. Okay, so you can read this right here. And what this simply is going over is our body has a natural process in terms of detoxification. We have certain organs like the kidneys and the liver that help remove a lot of the toxins in our body. One key thing that I want you to pay attention, especially this sentence, this process is especially important for weight loss as toxins stored in fat cells can hinder the body's ability to shed pounds. Toxins stored in fat cells. Okay. So when your body is full of toxins, whether it's something from what you're eating, whatever you're taking into the body doesn't want those toxins near the organs. So what does it do? It surrounds the toxins in fats to protect the body. And so that's why when you're gaining weight and your body fat percentage is going up, okay, this can be related to the amount of toxins and weight, the toxins and weight in the body. And so it makes it very hard for us to lose weight, especially if you find that the body's backed up with a lot of the toxins. So what we want to keep in mind is we want to ask, okay, what kind of foods are we eating? Are we hydrated? Are we moving the body? And that way we can improve the lymphatics. And I work a lot with lymphatics in my coaching programs. And if our lymphatics are stagnated, and I'm going to show you a very powerful visual on the next one to kind of make this more clear for you, then we're going to experience a lot of stagnation in the body, and stagnation leads to disease. If you look at this visual here, we can imagine our body like a fish tank. Okay, so if you look here on the left side picture, we have this algae infested fish tank, and you can imagine that's not really good for the fish. We can imagine our cells. They represent the fish here in this photo. Okay, so imagine your cells are swimming in a dirty fish tank. That tank isn't getting cleaned. It's not clear. And so our cells need to, very much like us, very much like fish, they need to eat and poop. Our cells poop as well. They get rid of waste. And consider what this fish tank looks like. And so if you're trying to eat healthier and you're drinking more water, that really puts since the cells are under more stress, let's say, if they're surrounded by a lot of toxins and this is what your insides look like, then their ability to absorb the food and absorb the nutrients doesn't become as efficient. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have an environment clean for our cells and everything within our body. And so an approach to this, you might, some people might take out the fish and take out the water and clean the water out and put that back in. But what you're going to find is that's going to become dirty again in a week or a couple days. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure our pipes are working, our filtration system. So if you look over here to the right, you can see that it's a clear fish tank. That filtration is working really well. And we can think of the filtration system like our lymphatic system in our body. We want to make sure things are moving as they should. If there's any blockage in any of these pipes, well, then that's where you're going to get blockage down the line, and you're going to lead to more stagnation. Things aren't going to be able to clear as they need to. And so one of our things that we focus on is making sure that we're getting our lymphatics to move. And what moves lymphatics? Well, we're going to look at that in our next slide here. Here are some detoxification action lists to make sure that our body is able to detoxify. And again, remember, toxins are stored in our fat tissue. So we want to make sure that we are able to allow the body to detox as it should. And this doesn't mean taking, you don't need detoxification teas or the latest supplements. You got to teach your body how to move the lymphatics. Okay, and there's two main drivers for that. There's breathing. So breathing acts like a pump in our body. It gets our fluid moving. So practicing things like diaphragmatic breathing, make sure that you're breathing correctly. Breathing is huge. And you want to make sure that you can breathe in a way that you're breathing more from your diaphragm and not through the mouth. And also movement. So anything such as strength training, stretching, walking more. I love rebounding. You might have heard this term before. You can look that up on YouTube. And rebounding is where you're just jumping up and down. Primarily on a trampoline, you get much more better movement of the lymphatics when you use a trampoline, like a reformer, as they're called. But I teach a method where you can just jump up and down just on the floor. I like to do that outside or have my clients do that outdoors, and it's a good way to move the lymphatics. Next one is staying hydrated. Staying hydrated helps keep the lymph fluid thin and flows easy. Okay, so I don't mean coffee or drinking tea or energy drinks. You want to make sure that you're drinking water and drinking plenty of it. Okay. Incorporate anti-inflammatory foods, eating foods like leafy greens, citrus fruits, turmeric foods, whole food guys. Make sure that you're eating more whole foods than you are processed foods, and that's going to help detoxify the body as well. Avoid prolonged sitting and make a habit of standing up, stretching, and walking throughout the day. I want to see you set a timer on your phone to remind you every 30 minutes to get out of your chair, do a walk around the house, around the block, do some simple stretching, but you gotta move more. That's what's going to help move your lymphatics. You can also do a lymphatic massage, so getting a massage therapist to do that for you. Or you can learn a self-massage technique like one that I use on myself every day, and one that I teach my clients called the Big Six. You can find that by Dr. Perry. You can find that on YouTube. And I'll be sure to include a lot of the resources that I talked about today in the description below. So make sure you check that out. Okay. Once we work on our detoxification pathways, then that's going to bring that down into the green zone, back on that chart we were talking about. Okay, number 2. So we're going to talk about the foods that you take. Okay, before we get into this one, I want to make clear, I'm not going to talk about calories today. Are calories important? Yes. Do I think everybody should count their calories? It depends. Like I said, there's no right way or wrong way to go about things. I'm not against calorie counting, but for me, what I find, at least the clients that I work with, is that becomes very tedious. It becomes a stressful act for them. And so while I find people do really well counting their calories, I find that it's not always necessary. But again, you might want to use that as a tool, use that as an awareness tool to learn more about what you're eating. I always encourage that. But just talking today, won't be expanding so much on calories rather than focusing on the foods that you're eating. Because if you're eating more whole foods versus processed foods, you're going to, control how much you're eating. You're not going to eat calorie-dense foods as much, and whole foods are more filling than processed foods. You'll find that you're not eating as much because you're going to be more satisfied. So it's important that you are focusing on more whole foods. Tips that I encourage when it comes to food quality. First, you must learn how to feel your food. And what I mean by feel your food is learn what that food does for you. Getting connected, have a healthy relationship with food. That's why I encourage always starting with a food journal. And when I say food journal, again, you're not counting calories, but you're just writing down everything that you're eating, and you can start to track how does that make you feel. So I like to, and I have a resource for this. I'll put this in the description. But I'll have clients eat. Maybe they have lunch or dinner, and then in their journal they'll write down how did that make them feel. Were they satisfied after the meal? Did they feel like their energy was good? Did they have a dip in energy afterwards? Did they feel anxious? Did they have any challenges with digestion? And this is a good way to learn more about how foods are affecting your body. Getting variety is important. So getting a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole foods, different proteins, different meat proteins, and eating with the seasons. So you can always look and see what's in season for this month in food. And you'll know because if you go to the farmer's market, they're going to offer a lot of the foods that are currently grown. So that's a good way to learn what's in stock, what's in season. And when it comes to changing what we eat, that's a big one to tackle. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So instead of feeling like you have to change everything that you're eating, I encourage you to focus on just one meal. Focus on changing one meal. And this could be breakfast for you. And oftentimes that's one that I recommend focusing on because that's your first meal of the day. And ask yourself, what would it look like if I changed my breakfast and I woke up and I had more vegetables, and I had a good source of protein. And maybe, okay, I didn't have coffee when I first woke up in the morning, and I reached for the water. And so you can really change your day by changing what you're eating in the morning. So eating more whole food and limiting processed food, you'll see a huge difference in terms of how you feel. When we're talking about what you eat, we're also talking hydration. So anything that you're putting in your mouth, anything you put in your body, hydration is a big one. And I find that a lot of people are dehydrated. They're not drinking enough, drinking plenty of high quality water as well. And I'll share some tips on the next slide. But I encourage you to start drinking more water throughout the day. Okay, so here are some action items. How much water should you drink? What I would do is I would take half my weight in ounces and drink that. So for an example, someone who weighs 200 pounds, divided in ounces is 100 ounces, and 8 ounces is a cup. So you can just divide 100 by 8, and that's how many cups of water I would drink during the day. Some action items: substitute non-essential drinks with good quality water. Good quality water includes spring water over tap water. Try to avoid tap water as much as possible. And then, as I mentioned, drink half your body weight in ounces. That can do a lot for your hunger level, guys, too. A lot of people don't know that you're oftentimes not hungry, you're more thirsty. And so when you find that if you're drinking more water, you're not as hungry as you thought you were. So you're also limiting how much food that you're taking in. And once you work on that, you'll see those levels start to go down. And then we want to work on the next one. We're talking stress. So I'm going to share with you, this is from a page in How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek, one of my favorite books on teaching people how to live a healthier lifestyle. I love this one because as it shows, gives you an example of what kind of stresses the body can experience. So things such as physical stress, exercise. You might hear that exercise is a good stress. Yes, that's true, but also it could be a negative stress. So depending on are you over exercising? Are you doing the right exercise for your body? So if you haven't worked out for years and you try to go do a CrossFit class and you end up hurting your shoulder or you're throwing out your back, well, that's a little bit too intense for your body. So that wouldn't be a good stress, right? Chemical stress, the foods that you're eating. Talking about the quality of food, is the food that you're eating processed? Is it sprayed with chemicals? Do you need to lean more towards organic foods? Electromagnetic stress. We're more on technology now more than ever. Scrolling on your phone and being removed from nature, it's very stressful for the body. So we want to keep in mind that. Our physical and mental stress, we suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality. It's one of my favorite quotes on how stress can affect your mind. So we can definitely think ourselves into sickness. Nutritional and thermal stress. So again, what the types of foods that you're eating? Are you eating the right foods for you? There's no one perfect diet that fits everyone. You want to make sure that you're feeding your body and what it needs. And then we have thermal stress, so just regulating body temperature, spending too much time in a cold environment, too much time in a hot environment. Your body has those systems to balance everything out. And so these are all the different stresses that affect the body. And you can see under that funnel, because the body doesn't know how to really differentiate between stress. It just knows stress, and it puts that all together. And if we're experiencing chronic stress over time, again, stress can be financial, it can be relationship, it could be emotional. Could be all these things. But if you're experiencing stress constantly, then here are some things how it can affect the body. We look at it from a sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous system. And parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. And your sympathetic nervous system is involved with your fight and flight response. So a lot of people are experiencing that constantly, and we're not supposed to. You should be able to get the body to relax. And when you're constantly under stress, then your body's constantly pumping cortisol into your system. And with this hormone, your body's not going to want to lose weight. That's not going to be its ideal goal. It's going to want to hold on to fat because it thinks it's in a famine. And so you'll find that this is why I always say stress can make your pants tighter. And we want to be able to manage our stress. And what are some ways that we can do that? What I recommend is identify your biggest stressor and create a plan around that. As I mentioned, is your stress more financial? If so, who can you talk to? What support can you have to address these concerns? If your stress is you're not getting enough sleep, maybe you're getting 5 hours of sleep because you're going into bed late. Well, that's going to be a really big stress, as you'll see in our next point. But figure out what's causing your body the most stress and write a plan for it. What are you willing to do to address that? For exercise, find the right dose and type of exercise for your body. Again, I don't think jumping into a high intensity class, if you haven't worked out in years, that might not be the best approach. I saw that a lot running my boot camp classes. And so, encouraging people to focus on low impact exercises, especially if you have joint pain or back pain, going for a walk, going hiking, going swimming. There's a lot of things that you can do that's good for where you're at. Create harmony with your thoughts and actions. Eat and drink according to your body's needs. We talked about the financial and relational stress. And then, of course, a big one is schedule in activities that bring you joy in your week. So sometimes in our coaching programs, we talk about, what are some things that you can do every week that's going to be fun for you? What are some things that you might have put off for a while? So maybe it's hanging out with your friends or going to a museum or spending time outdoors. That makes a huge difference, and that's related to our ability to lose weight. Okay, so if you're under stress a lot, you want to make sure you can manage your stress. So these are some good ways to do that. Next one, we have sleep. So sleep is a non-negotiable for me. If I'm working with somebody and I know that they're not getting enough sleep and they're not willing to work on it, I just got to be upfront with you. You're not going to experience the weight loss that you want. Or if you do, it's only going to be short-lived. Okay, so you can't expect sustainable weight loss if you're not sleeping, because that's when your body is under that repair and recover mode. Okay, so you got to make sure that you're getting a good night of sleep, not just enough sleep in terms of hours, but good quality sleep too. Are you tossing and turning in the night? Are you getting into that deep REM sleep? And if not, there might be some reasons why. I have some factors that I call the top sleep villains to why people aren't getting sound sleep. And you have stimulants, smartphones, and maybe the last thing that you go before you go to bed is that you're looking at your phone, and hey, that really wires your brain up. And it's hard to get into that REM sleep when you're looking at any technology. Alcohol, if you're drinking throughout the week, alcohol can disrupt your sleep. Going to bed too late, you want to have a consistent schedule. So schedule's a big one, guys. I want to make sure that you are scheduling your sleep and you know what time you're going to bed and you're waking up consistently throughout the week. Eating large meals, I also find that can disrupt your sleep. So just kind of pay attention to the foods that you're eating prior to go to bed and see if that makes a difference. It oftentimes does. Okay, and the next one we have you are when you eat. So not many people know that their schedule around eating, that's a key word again, schedule, is affecting your ability to lose weight. Okay, so we want to respect the body's natural rhythms. This is also related to balancing the blood sugar levels throughout the day. So if you find that your energy keeps dipping at a certain part of the day, you want to start looking at, okay, what times are you eating and are you often skipping meals? Okay, here are some action items for that. You want to develop the habit of eating regular meals at consistent times. Pull out your phone or grab your pen and paper, and I would start looking at scheduling your meal times throughout the day. What time are you going to have breakfast in the morning, your first meal of the day? If you find that you're often running out the door, grabbing a bagel, grabbing a coffee, you probably find that the rest of the day, your energy's dipping, and so you have to go reach for another cup of coffee, or you feel like you have to grab a sugary snack just to feel more awake. And this can lead to a lot of yo-yo effects when it comes to weight gain. You want to be consistent, have a schedule around eating, and sticking with that schedule is important. Balance your plant to animal ratio relative to how your body feels when it comes to eating vegetables, fruits, animal proteins. Some people tend to do better eating more protein relative to carbs. When I say carbs, vegetables and fruits. Some people feel amazing when they focus more on having more vegetables versus animal proteins. So ratio, I find, is important. This is where a food journal can really help you, is to determine, how do I feel when I eat a certain way? And then again, avoid eating your largest meal prior to bedtime. I find that happens more in people who skip out on breakfast, or they have refined carbohydrates such as bread or donuts or bagels, and they have the coffee in the morning, and they're ravished by dinner time. So they go out, and maybe there's no cooked meal at home, so they go out and go to the drive-through and get a high calorie dense meal. That's not going to be good for weight loss. Okay. Last one is going to be digestion. Digestion has to do with turning what we eat and drink into energy, and what also the materials that create the body. Okay. A good saying is, you can't make chicken salad from chicken poop. And that's true. Your body uses the nutrients that you feed it in order to rebuild and repair. So if you keep giving it junk, it's gonna use that junk to rebuild your tissues. So that's where we talk about eating whole foods, nutrient dense foods. That's going to be the best, especially for your digestion. Some symptoms of poor digestion include bloating, gas, any stiffness around the stomach, constipation, acid reflux, burping. So if you're experiencing a lot of this consistently, then there's going to be some challenges around digestion. Okay, here are some action items lists to make that score go down into a healthy range. Move your body after having a meal. I know a lot of people who have big meals at lunchtime or at dinner, and then what do? They go sit down, they go sit on the couch, they watch Netflix, and your body needs to move in order to get the food moving into that digestion process. And what I find very effective is just simply going for a 10-minute walk after you have your meals, if possible. If not, you're standing and you're just kind of walking in place, or you're doing some sort of movement. You're not doing an intense workout, but you got to move in some way. That's going to be a big one for improving your body's ability to digest. You need those contractions for the stomach to get the food down. Always avoid drinking alcohol before meals. Alcohol can disrupt your digestion. Slow down when chewing your food. Do you find that you're quickly eating your meals and maybe you're looking at your phone while you do that? You're not very present. What we find is that when you slow down, your brain sends a signal to your body, or I'm sorry, I mixed that up. Your body sends a signal to your brain saying that you're hungry, you're satisfied, and you don't risk overeating. Avoid foods to which you're intolerant or allergic to. And again, I'm going to go back to the food journal. This is where being aware of what you're eating and how it's affecting you. So you might find that, I'm eating this really healthy food, but I'm still experiencing poor digestion, or I get really gassy. Well, is it coming from a certain vegetable that you're eating? And if it is, to avoid that, and you can use some variety and try something else. That work for you? No? What will? So awareness, guys, that's the key word. And then create a calm environment for eating. And so for that one, if you find that you're scrolling, you're doom scrolling, as they say, or you're watching the news and it's very stressful for you, your body does not digest very well when it's under stress. So if you're constantly stressed out over something, your digestion won't be optimized. So try to create a ritual or a routine around your eating. If it can't be for every meal, at least do one meal, right? At least dinner time. Place the phones in another room. Have a conversation with a friend or with your family, and you'll find that you're going to see a big difference in how you feel. Hydration. If your body's dehydrated, you will not digest properly. So it goes back to water. Very important. Okay. And then what happens if we work all on this? And again, I have a little hierarchy in terms of what to focus on to see the best results. But maybe for you, you want to focus more on sleep. Hey, that's totally fine. Or you want to focus more on the times that you're eating. That's all good. There's no right way to go about things. I tend to put things in a certain order. It's missing that digestion on the score here, but that goes on the top. And you can see by working on that, you can get a much better score. And again, if you're in the green, well, then your body is able to do what it needs to do. Your metabolism is going to be optimized when you're eating the right foods for your body, when you're managing your stress and you're sleeping well. What I find too when working with clients is that sometimes just by focusing on the foods that they're eating, when that score starts to improve, then naturally the rest of the scores will improve. So they'll find that their stress is going down. Maybe they're sleeping better because, again, they're not eating sugar, or not having caffeine before bedtime, and so their sleep just naturally improves. So what's really cool is that you'll see that oftentimes when you put focus on one of those things. But for here, I'm going to encourage you, and based on what we talked about, what can I work on this week that would make the biggest difference for me? So maybe you heard me talk about something around digestion or around stress that you really liked. Well, hey, focus on that and see what it does for you. Because if you keep trying to approach it from maybe a calorie standpoint, or okay, I'm gonna go on the specific diet because it worked really well for my friends and it requires a lot of restrictive eating, but I'm really motivated. I'm gonna do it. Two things might happen. Number one, you're going to get frustrated with it and you're going to feel guilty that you didn't do it, even though it wasn't really the right approach for you. Or you will do it and you might see some results in the beginning, but what happens? And I know a lot of people go through this process before. I've tried multiple diets, right? I've gone, 4 or 5 different diets and I keep losing the weight, but I keep bringing it back. You can see based on what we talked about and how this is a different approach than just restricting the body or doing some crazy exercise routine and trying to burn as much calories as you can. You can see this is more from a health approach. And as I always say, if you focus on health, weight loss will follow. If you focus just on weight loss, then you're going to neglect a lot about what we talked about today, the things that your body needs to repair and recover and to really feel its best. So I hope you found that helpful. I also have some bonus action items for you that I wanted to include today that I felt were important. And number one, I find that just kind of going back into movement, increasing your step count and walking every day, that's huge. That's a big one. And what I like about that is it's kind of a very low barrier to entry, right? It's free to walk. You can start just simply with, again, 10 minutes every day. 5 minutes if 10 minutes is too much. Whatever you can, just start to walk a little bit more. That's going to improve your movement over the course of the year. And so really try to develop a routine around that. Low impact exercise, again, if you're experiencing any pain around the knees or the hips or the back, things like walking, swimming, Tai Chi, chair yoga, there's a lot of ways to move, especially if you're in pain. And you just got to find, again, what works for you. I do a lot of low impact exercises with my clients because most of them have some sort of pain around, the back or the shoulders, whatever it is. There's always a way to move, guys. So please don't get discouraged. And if you ever need questions, I'd be happy to send you any resources on that. Resistance training, best method for increasing your metabolism. And again, when your metabolism is high and it's functioning for you for your age, then that's where weight loss becomes natural. That's where it feels like that is melting off. And I find that you got to resistance train in some way. At least 2 days a week. I find that's very effective. You don't have to do it 5 days. If you want to, if you love it, awesome, go for it. But really, 2 days to see results. Get your hormones levels checked. That's a big one. If your hormones are imbalanced, that can lead to a lot of weight gain. I'm going to include a video that I did with a hormone specialist in the description below that I think you'll find really valuable. So it's always good to get your hormones checked every now and then. Find people to support you. You got to have a support system, guys. Who in your family, who in your friend group, in your community can support you on this journey? Have that conversation with them. Say, hey, I'm really trying to lose weight, and I can really use some help here. And then, hey, you always have me here if you have any questions on that. I'd love to support you on that journey. Consider seeking support from a licensed therapist to address any mental or emotional challenges that may be impacting your weight loss journey. This one, the body holds on to a lot of trauma. If you've experiencing anything in the past that you feel needs focus from a specialized therapist, then I always encourage you to reach out to someone who can help support you in that way. And that's going to be it. Those are the main focuses that I'd have you really pay attention to. I hope you learned at least one thing that you can apply this week. And remember, hey, you can do this. You're on this journey right now, and just take it one day at a time. And I'm going to put some resources again in this video in the description below. Make sure you check that out. And of course, share this with anyone that you feel can really benefit from learning this. Okay, and then I'm also going to include, if you want to take that questionnaire that I give my clients for free, I'll put a link in there too, just so you can see what your scores are at. So check that out. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.